Okay, Daf Mem, and about 10 lines from the top. 12, whatever. Taner Abana, Apotropos, Mishal Min Aliyah. So yesterday we had a sugya about Apotropos, a shor, Shal Cherishot of a Koton, that the Apotropos, they make an Apotropos. Question about Apotropos causing the shor to have to pay as a tam or only as a muad. And it came out that even though the Mishnah is only an opinion that you don't make an Apotropos has to pay as a tam, but it was the machlok. We did find the machlokus afterwards in the brisa. And as far as making him a muad when he becomes a muad, so that it's that we do. We make him we hire an apotropos and we appoint an apotropos and it makes it into a muad if it's worn 3 times. And then machlokus was after when he goes back to the rishus of the Yisomim, Higdil. So then does it change status because it changed rishus, and maybe the status of muad will go off. The Gemara continues now on Daf Mem, Tani Rabbanan. Apotropsim Mishalmim and Aliyah. The ain Mishalmim Kofer. So I don't really know what the Mishalmim and Aliyah means. Point is to say that the Apotropos is going to cause that Yisomim should pay Nezek. Aliyah usually means from a muad, and the Apotropos does cause that it should become a muad, and the Yisomim should pay. Everybody held of that yesterday. There was a machlokis if the payment is made from the Yisomim right away, or so we tell the Apotropos to lay out the money until they become of age, and then they can get reimbursed. But I'm not sure why the words of the Gemara is Mishalmim and Aliyah. It's not the main subject. It means it's just to say that they pay. They pay the Apotropos. Either he pays or the Yisomim pay. That eventually he's going to pay it back. And that's as far as Nezek. As far as damages that the shore did, there's a payment of Nezek. And I don't have a pshat why it says Aliyah. But the main sugya is
doesn't it mean for the best?
right. But the point is that's okay. That's not what I'm saying that it pays.
Right.
It's
That's
not
very surprising because if you want people to be out to trust versus you wouldn't make
right.
them pay.
So we said that yesterday the Gemara said that eventually the payment's going to come from the Yisomim, either means directly from the Yisomim right now, just means that Apotropos makes that it should pay, or it's going to mean that Apotropos has to lay it out temporarily until he gets it back from the Yisomim anyway.
Purpose makes it happen. He's more. He's
The Yisomim the Ktanim have no responsibility to watch the shore. So the shore is going around and it's damaging, it's dangerous. So because there's a mazik, so we make an Apotropos that should take care of the shore. And if the shore is going to be mazik, the Yisomim are going to lose. Or else we have to kill the shore. We can't have a shore running around damaging people, damaging
Are
the
they
shore.
hiring the Apotropos? Is he paying getting paid for it?
I don't think this is probably opportunity Apotropos. A lot of places probably maybe in general. I don't think that you
He
can
has plans to
Apotropos.
lose money.
Right. So the Gemara says someplace that it does have a benefit. That Apotropos has a benefit that Bezdin trusts him. The fact that Bezdin hired him, so Bezdin trusts him. So you got to get the good name. Tov Shem Yishem and Tov. That it's a worthwhile thing that Bezdin he has the askama from Bezdin that he's a trustworthy man. That we want to talk someplace about that when the father is the one who appointed Apotropos before he died. So then he must have done something. The Apotropos must have done something that the father wants to favor back. So that's one reason why a person will become Apotropos to the father. And Apotropos to Bezdin, the incentive is because he gets a good name.
Like an aid by a chassid.
What does he get?
To aid by the chassid. You don't hire a guy to aid.
He gets a good name. They want him for a name. So yeah, that's not going to be the subject. The main subject starts now about Kofer, and the whole sugya now is about Kofer. And I was very surprised that this is the sugya of Kofer. It's not a sugya of Kofer. The sugya of Kofer comes in through the back door. That we're talking about. There's the Apotropos pay Kofer or the Yisomim. Ein Mishalman Kofer. So maybe we'll highlight this. So the Apotropos is making the Yisomim chayiv, but Ein Mishalman Kofer. If the shor would have killed 3 times, and now it's the 4th time already. And if it would have been a regular owner, so now you'd have to pay kofer. And of course, the Gemara is a kasha when we'll get there. That how does it ever become a muad? Once he killed the first time, he killed a human being. He's supposed to kill the shor right away. So how did it happen that it killed another 3 times? It's killing and killing and killing. So that was as a case. But the case of kofer is when the shor killed already 3 times. Now it's the 4th time. He killed 4 times already. So then it was a shor muad that killed, and he has to pay kofer. So here it says that even though making up a tropis, but that's not going to cause the Yisomim to have to pay kofar. And the question is why? If they pay nezek, why don't they pay kofar? That's the end of the brisa, and then the Gemara takes over. Means the Gemara understands without even questioning it that the pshat, the reason why you don't pay kofar is because kofar is a kapara. Usually nezek and other kind that's paying for the damages. But when somebody is killed and you pay money, is the purpose to pay the damages? No, because death is not just called damages. So the Gemara is saying that the kufr kapara, that the purpose of kufr is to get a kapara, to get an atonement. So if the whole purpose of kufr is to pay an atonement, so the yisomim, they're not chayv kapara. He asked me to have a kapara in it. So the Gemara says that's pashut down the price. That's no question. That's found the price. The reason why the purpose doesn't cause the yisomim to pay kofar is because the yisomim don't need kofar, because they don't need a kapara, because they're ketanim, they're not responsible. You might talk about the maybe a pshat needs a kapara, but that's not the subject. The question is only taking, like the Gemara said, no one's going to become an apotropos if he's going to be chayv. It always goes back to the yisomim. So the yisomim are not chayv because they don't need a kapara. So the Gemara says,
what do you look at kofar that people pay? Let's say
people don't pay kofar. People only pay kofar when the animal kills.
Yeah, I'm saying when that happens, how much does it cost?
That's going to be the Gemara now. The Gemara is going to get into that question. But first, the Gemara does not supposed to says kofar. As first it says, "V'gam love you must." In kofar yushas alav and asam yon lavshon k'chol yushas alav. It says in the pasuk there's such a thing of paying kofar instead of getting killed. That's the pasuk seems to say. Really, the owner of the show is chayiv misa. V'gam love you must. But then it says there's such a thing as kofar, and then he doesn't get killed. So the Gemara has no question that this brisa holds kufr kapara. Maybe you just make that into another highlight over there. That the point the Gemara is going to be kufr kapara. The brisa says the Yisomim don't pay kofar, and the Gemara explains the reason is because kufr kapara. Kufr kapara means that kofar is an atonement. It sounds like that also. The word kofar sounds like an atonement, but not necessarily. We can say that the word kofar is not going to be an atonement. This brisa holds kofar is an atonement, and therefore the Yisomim don't need an atonement, and they don't pay. But who's the author? Do you find any place that somebody holds like that? Rav Chisda, Rabbi Shmuel ben Moshe, Rabbi Yochanan ben Brokahi. It is going to be a machlokes tanoim, and the one who says that it's a kapora is Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Rabbi Yochanan ben Brokahi. The Tanya, when Hasam Fedyon Avsho, the main nizik, Rabbi Shmuel ben Moshe, Rabbi Yochanan ben Brokahi, Omer, main masik. So this is what Chaim David asks: how much does kofar cost? It's a machlokes. How much kofar costs? Some say it's the value of the nizik. Means the nizik is the one who was killed. A shore killed a human being for the fourth time already, and now he has to pay kofar. The owner of the shore has to pay kofar, and how do you evaluate that? So it says that according to Rabbi Shmuel, the Nosh of Rabbi Yochanan, the Tanna Kamma, Tanna Kamma says the main is you evaluate how much the victim could have been sold if he wanted to be sold and he was alive. How much he was worth to be sold as a slave, and that's the monetary value. Of course, a person is priceless, but as far as payments, we just could look at him as a slave on the slave market, how much it would have been worth to be sold, and that's the value that the owner of the shore that killed this man, he'd have to pay. Of course, who does he pay to? The man is dead. He pays to his Yorshim. They consider the continuation of him, and he pays how much the victim would have been worth to sell on the slave market. That's called the main nizik. Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Rabbi Yochanan.
The main nizik and the kofar. I'm getting confused. We all have,
There's kofar. We're talking about kofar is the title. Here's let's make it color scheme over here.
You said there's a nizik. Nizik already.
No, nizik is when you damage. You had damage. You were killed. When you pay damages, you should only pay how much the damage was. Now we're talking about that the shore killed a human being, and he pays kofar on the fourth time. How much is kofar? How do you estimate kofar? So there's machlokas over here, the main nizik, and soon it's going to come the main mazik. Machlokas. Machlokas Tanna Kamma says the value, how much the victim was worth to sell for a slave, and Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Yochanan ben Brokahi, says the main mazik, the owner of the shore, the owner of this shore that killed, we take him to the slave market and we evaluate how much he's worth, and that's how much he has to pay to the Yoshim of the victim. And the Gemara wants to figure out what's the svar of each one. Why does one say the main nizik? Does one say the main mazik? That's the end of the brisa, and now the Gemara is gonna analyze the brisa. My love is the machlok is not the following. The Gemara suggests that this machlok is about nizik and mazik depends on what the hagdara, what the definition of kofar is. If kofar is to bring a kapara, how do you bring a kapara? You bring kapara, the value of the man who's supposed to be killed by Bezdin now. There's Reuven, the owner of the shore that killed already the fourth time, and there's Shimon who was killed the fourth time. He, so if you, he was killed, he was the fourth one to be killed. So if you hold that as a kapara, what's the kapara? It means really Reuben should be put to death. Really, it should bring Reuben to Bezdin and kill him. But there's a kapara. So how does he give a kapara? He gives his value. So they evaluate him how much he would have worth on the slave market, and that's called May Mazik, and go for kapara. But if you hold that you paid the value of the nizik, so it doesn't sound so much like it's in order to redeem the mazik, the Ruvain, the owner of the mazik, from being killed. It sounds like you're paying for the damages. It means, of course, you can't pay for the damages, you can't pay for human life, but at least the monetary value of how much it was worth. So the Gemara thinks that this issue of kufra kapara is only going to be if you hold the main mazik. My labo kamiflik the Rabban and Savri kufra mamona, and that's why it's the main nizik. And Rabbi Shmuel holds he's the one who's going to say that it's kufra kapara. So let's try to make this again. That let's make the green. The Gemara says that kufra kapara is only if you're going to hold the main mazik, make that a little greenish. That if you hold that you have to pay the value of the mazik, that fits with kufra kapara. But if you hold the main nizik, it doesn't sound like kufra kapara. My labakim, if you get the Rabbanan, sorry, the Rabbanan are the ones who say nizik, so they hold kufra mamona. Let's try to put that in some kind of color scheme. The Gemara thinks at this point, kufra mamona. If you hold kufra kapara, then it's the main mazik. If you hold kufra mamona, then it's main nizik. So it comes out that this din that the yisomim mapoter only according to but if you don't like Rabbana, that is the main nizik. That means kufra mamona, and even the yisomim should also have to pay. The same way they pay for damages, they should have to pay kofar also. Amra Papalo, Papa said unnecessarily. We could say that everybody had a kapara. Amra Kufra kapara, everybody could hold, even their Rabbanan also that say the nizik also might hold that as a kapara. Rabbanan Sabi with the nizik shemina, Rabbi Shmuel ben Oshem ben Yochanan ben Kesova with the mazik shemina. Everybody holds that the purpose is to get a kapara. But how do you get a kapara? So that we first thought that if you pay the value of the person who's supposed to be put to death, the owner of the shore, Reuven, the owner of the shore, that he didn't watch the shore and he killed 4 times, he should be killed. So in order to redeem himself, he pays his value. But the Gemara says not necessarily. It could be the way that he redeems himself is by paying the value of the nizik. So we could put this also into, that's what the Gemara says, that even if you say the main nizik, he also could be, because he also could hold the kufra kapara. And the Gemara says, it's not telling you this machlokus, even if you hold the main nizik, it also could all go under kufra kapara. My time with Rabbanan. So okay, now we have machlokus, and it's not dependent on kufra kapara, kufra mamona. We'll take that everybody holds it's kufra kapara, and therefore yisomim apoter, because they don't need a kapara. They're ketanim, they don't need a kapara. But there is a machlokus. How do you evaluate in order to get a kapara? And now the Gemara goes in. So what is the machlokus dependent on? My time with the Rabbanan who say the main nizik. Where did they get it from? The pasuk says that the Gamba love you, the owner of the shore is supposed to be put to death. And kofer yushas alav, when the stand for the owner of shor yushas alav, if they put kofer on him, so he should pay kofer according to how much they put upon him. But how do you see in those words how much it is? How much is the kofer? So there's going to be a machlokes how you read the pasuk. Then shisa lamata, but then shisa lamala. Mala halam b'denizik, avkan b'denizik. So the word shisa means the place, like sheis. Right, the name sheis. Kishas li Elohim zera acher. The word shas means the place. And here it says 2 places. The word shas. It says, like Rashi brings down by the Mev Lodos. It says that if the ox scored a pregnant woman, and the fetus died, so you have to pay for the Mev Lodos. And over there it says, where's Rashi? Kasher Yoshes Allah Ba'ala Isha. It says according to how much the husband will put upon him, place upon him, how much the blood is worth. And here's the pasuk that says in Kofar Yushas Allah. The other pasuk we're talking about that there's a payment of Kofar. It also says the study word Yushas, which also means the place. So making a Gzer Shava kind of thing from the word Yashis and the word Yushas, same idea. Even though the binyas are all different, but word placing. So here, when it talks about Kasher Yoshes Allah Ba'ala Isha, what is the payment of the Mev Lodos? How much the blood is worth? Nothing to do with the person who caused the fetus to die. It's the value of the blood that the Gemara takes as a given. So If over there means that the main nizik, so too, that's the reason to say that the kofar Yushas Alav is the main nizik. Like a kind of exer shava that it's referring to the value of the one that was damaged. So that's the my timer. My timer Rabban, and then Rosh Salamata, but then Rosh Salamala, Malahal B'denizik, I've come with the nizik. And one parsha, Rashi says Lamata is going to mean the next parsha. I didn't look into the book, but the one that's Lamata is going to be the. Oh, no, okay, I got it wrong. The one that says earlier is about the Vlodos, and afterwards it says about the Kofer. By the Vlodos is showing talking about the main Nizik, Mala Halon, the Nizik, I've come to the Nizik. So that's the source of the Rabbanon to say that the way you evaluate, the way you assess how much is Kofer is the value of the Nizik because of Gzer Shava. Rabbi Shmuel, how does he get the Dmei Mazik? It says in the pasuk that if they put kofar on him, who's him? The mazik. He should give the redemption of his soul. The subject of the sentence is the mazik. That's what we're talking about. That he's high love you must. In kofar yushas love, if it's placed upon him, who's him? The pasuk just talked about the owner of the shore, the mazik, Reuben. So if it says he should give the redemption of his soul, so his soul in the subject of the sentence is talking about the mazik. So that's how he knows that it means the value of the mazik. Rabbanan,
What if less than the? I mean, does the fact that it would be worth less or more, is that taken into consideration?
no, whichever one it is.
Right.
If you're right, there could be. Shell's pointing out that sometimes the Ruben, the owner of the mazik, could be worth more as a slave than the nizik or the nizik mazik. No, nothing, no rule about that. And the machlokes how much you have to pay. At the one that says the nizik, it goes according to the victim, but my mazik, and we don't care which one is more or less. And what's the drasha so far? The Rabbanan say it's Gzer Shava because the pasuk when he uses the word Yushas, the place is talking about the value of the nizik. And Rabbanan, that was Rabbanan. And Rabbi Shmuel, son of Rabbi Yochanan Broker, says that the pasuk says, give his redemption to redeem him. Who's him? And the subject of the sentence was talking about the mazik. So therefore, he says that it means the value of the mazik. You take him to the slave market to see how much he would be sold for, and that's how much he pays. Rabbanan, what did Rabbanan do with the pasuk? It says, "When the son to Yonav showed this bow, he should give the redemption of his soul." That's talking about the mazik. So how can you say it means the main nizik? Rabbanan say, you're right. But Yonav shows it does say that he's paying for to redeem himself. The way that he gets it's true. He's getting he's coming to redeem himself. How much is it cost to redeem himself? So not necessarily by paying his value. Not necessarily. It's true. Rabbi Shmuel said that. It means he has to redeem himself. That means how much he would have been worth. But not necessarily. The way that he gets a kapara, the way he redeems himself is by paying the value of the victim. So it remains a machlokas, and the Gemara doesn't want to say that it depends on kufra kapara, kufra mamona, even if you hold kufra kapara, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you pay the value of the mazik, you pay the value of the nizla.
If we're saying that would he physically taken to the slave market, or was just saying just based on his age and on his?
Well, we don't have to take the slave market. We can ask somebody who knows, somebody who's an assessor. We can ask, in the slave market, he knows how to do it. So we bring him and say, how much would this be worth? The same way, anything, a car, field, a house, that you bring people that they know how to assess. Shammai, they bring a shammai. So what do we have? That it doesn't. The one doesn't want to make a focus out of it. Then it seems that everybody holds that the Yisomim are put from Kofer because the whole purpose of Kofer is to get a kapara, and the Yisomim that are Ktanim, they don't need a kapara. How much is Kofer? Machlokus, and it's not dependent. And what is a machlokus tolian? If you dash in the word nafsho, where you have Gzer Shava, and say that it means the main nizik. So this is it's very, very interesting. This way the Gemara came through the back door to talk about Kofer. The Yisomim are put, but that's this. And it comes out that we pass like the Rabbanan of Rabbi Shmuel that the main nizik. New story. Rava was praising in front of Rav Nachman that he's a great person. Rava told Rav Nachman that I know Rav he's a great person. He's a great Talmud Chacham. So Rav Nachman says, I want to meet him. So when he comes to you, so bring him. I'd like to meet Rav Yaakov that you're praising. And it happens a lot of times in the Gemara that somebody praises somebody, so the Rav says, I want to see him. When you have opportunity, I would like to meet him and test him. It's interesting a lot of times what the test is. This was a test. Ask a question. Means he didn't. Sometimes the test is that the Rav asked the question and then you have a good answer. Here the test was, ask me a question. That's also a good here. Sometimes you go to yeshiva and the Rav says, That's the test. The test is say a question. I can see if you're alarmed for the question. So Rav Nachman asked me a question. They asked me the following question. When there's a shore that killed the fourth time, that it has two owners, it has to pay kofar. How do you evaluate the kofar? It's not going into the value of the mazik, the nizik. The more doesn't talk about that. Whatever kofar is supposed to be, how do you pay? Mishalim high kofar, high kofar. Does each person have to pay kofar? The two owners of the shore, does each one pay kofar? And he's going to get two kofars. The Yorshim are going to get two payments. Can't be. Kofar echad amar one of the shnei kofar. The pasuk says pay kofar. Doesn't sound like two kofars. So only pay one kofar. And what's the other choice? Each one should only pay half. High chatzi kofar. Kofar. Kofar shalom rachman v'lo chatzi kofar. The pasuk says kofar. It doesn't say two kofars. It doesn't say half a kofar. And the Gemara holds it as a kasha. There's a legitimate kasha. What's it? Over there's no question that they pay only half. Each one pays half, and he gets the full payment because over there the payment is for the damages. But here, I guess the Gemara is based on the fact that it's not for the damages. It's a new kind of a payment, and therefore the Gemara says that it's a kapora. So here we have a question. The Torah says kofar. It doesn't say half. It doesn't say two. And the Gemara has a question. And the Gemara doesn't answer this question. This is considered a good question. The Gemara is going to say Sudav. Nachman was impressed with the question. We might have had an answer. We might have said our opinion. But the Gemara is a question, and Rav Nachman was thinking about it. The Yosef Bava Kamma, but while Rav Nachman was thinking about it, the good question: does he pay? Did they pay half? Did they pay double? Either way, it doesn't fit into the bus. It's just go for it. But Rav Nachman asked the second question. He was ready to ask another question. So while Rav Nachman was thinking about it, Amalei Rav Nachman said another question. Tanan, Chayav Rochim Mamashkin and Osam. Chayav Chatos Vashamas. Any Mashkin and Osam. Chayav Kofrim High. The Mishnah says. This is a quotation from the Mishnah. This Tanan. Arochin, somebody that's chayiv Arochin. People say Erchin. I think that probably is supposed to be Arochin. But it's Parshan in the Torah, Parshan Buchukosa, I think. That I think it's Buchukosa. That either Bava Buchukosa, I think it's Buchukosa. You can look at it. That the person says Erki Olai or Erech Ploni Olai. That he wants to pay the Erech. The money goes to Hektish. But the Erchin does not mean how much he sold on a slave market, what his monetary value is, but the pasuk says according to the age and the gender, there's a set price how much is arachin. So someone was machayim, so somebody pledged arachin. Does Bezdin go to collect? Does Bezdin send a collection agency to pick it up, or it's his business? He's a chayiv to pay, and when he does, he's supposed to take care of it. So the question comes up many times when people have obligations, the Bezdin enforce it or not. It's your responsibility. You take care of it. So it's going to bring a couple of examples. The Mishnah over there talks about other things also. But the point is going to be whenever we trust him that he's going to do it on his own because he has his own incentive, he has his own motivation, we don't have to encourage him, so then we let him do it himself. But if we choshesh that he doesn't have enough motivation, so we have to help him out and we enforce it. So here the Mishnah says, Arachin, Mamashkin and Osan. There's nothing pressing him. Someone said he's going to pay tzedakah or something like that, or he's going to. So there's nothing pressing him, so we have to help him out. We have to push him. We enforce it. So if someone's chayiv arachin, the word mamashkin means that we take collateral, we would force him. We force him. We send what do we call them nowadays? It's all the poems. The ones who what's that called in English? Collection agency. Okay. But chayav chatos v'ashamas ain't mamashkin in those. But someone's chayiv korban. He was machal shabbos by mistake. He's chayiv korban chatos. So there's something he's chayiv korban nosha. So Bezdin doesn't enforce it because he's going to do it on his own. Because he's chayiv korban, he needs a kapora. So we don't have to enforce it because we can trust he's going to do it on his own. So the Gemara's question was, what do you say about someone's chayiv kofar? Does Bezdin enforce that they should pay the kofar? So he's sure killed for the fourth time, and he has to pay kofar, whatever you hold, and we're waiting for him to pay. He didn't pay, it doesn't come with the money right away. So does Bezdin send the collection agency or not? What's the question? Since we're saying now that it's a kapara, that's what the Gemara said, it's a kapara. And that's why you saw my brother, because the whole purpose only kapara is not a payment. If it's a kapara, that means that he has to do it in order to get a kapara. So maybe it's the same thing as a korban. That's not a nasham, that since he needs a kapara, it's chomer to him, and we trust him because he's going to do it on his own. So you don't have to enforce it. Odilma, first white line. Sivan, the lachavre who the boy mace vole, mamonu below the gavoa, who below chomer alei. Or maybe since the payment goes to his fellow man, who does the payment go to? He doesn't give it to the base of Mikdash. He gives it to the Yorshim of the victim. So then he looks at it as money, and it's not so chomer. So I just say something that maybe is wrong of me to say, because it's for sure wrong of me to say. I'm just going to say just to explain myself that I would have thought that there was mamona to take out. I'm not really taking it out. I'm just making a we'll erase the parentheses right away. If it would have said like this, then it would have said that that's a kapara. And then what doesn't question it's a kapara? It's a kapara. You said before it's a kapara. You someone don't pay. Even if you hold my nizik, my mazik gets a kapara. And the one says, and that's not that's a kapara. So people take kapara seriously the same way chatas Hashem. Or this is a kind of a kapara, but you get the kapara by giving it to somebody. They're giving it to somebody else.
So, right.
That's difficult for people. That even they say that people will spend a lot of money for all kinds of mitzvahs, but when it comes to Din Torah, then even on a penny, it's difficult for them because it's going to him out of my pocket into his pocket. So you say it's a mitzvah also. No, there's mitzvahs that go. So I would have thought that's what the Gemara is saying. That since it goes to somebody, so and not to Hashem, it doesn't go to the Beis Hamikdash. So then he doesn't look at it like he doesn't look at it so seriously. That's how I would have thought the Gemara says, but the Gemara doesn't say that. Take away these parentheses, which don't exist. I look at all the kisvayad, everybody has it.
Because the Gemara is really saying, since it's money that you're paying out, it's different.
But the Gemara is comparing it to before. Here, the Gemara, let's just underline that. Here, the Gemara said kapara, and here the Gemara is saying mamona. It's similar to what the Gemara said on top of the page. The Gemara holds this question: for kapara, for mamona. Before the Gemara said miyamazit, then is it miyamazit? The Gemara said everybody called kapara. But
when it comes to money, then you would think that the person has to get involved because he's not going to pay.
Even because it's money to his friend.
Yeah.
But then the Gemara doesn't have to say mamona. The Gemara could have said because it's a kapara, but it's a kapara. You have to give it to your friend. The words of the Gemara mashma that's comparing mamon to kapara, and the Gemara is saying that this is a time to say that it's money. It's not considered a kapara, which is a very big hit. It means the Gemara is saying you don't find the kapara that you will get the kapara by giving money to somebody else. The kapara is a carbon. Here is a big hiddush to say that the kufra is kapara, and the money goes to the fellow man. So the way the words of the Gemara are saying that this is the same moment, which is a little strange, a little strange, because the top of the page entertained the possibility kufra mamona kufra kapara. The Gemara knocked it off. We want to say about the holds kufra kapara and the yisoma butter. We didn't make a focus out of it, and we even said that meinizik meimazik, even if you hold the meinizik, also could be kufra kapara. So the Gemara, and here the Gemara doesn't say since a certain reason, therefore it's a kapara, or since a different reason it's moment. The Gemara seemed to say for sure it's a kapara. But I looked around, I didn't find any guess it changes.
It's unbelievable. I just when I got my hot chocolate, so Schultz was just telling me a story. Yesterday, a lady came. He had only one bottle of this bourbon left over in the store. One bottle left. And she tasted it. She says she's going to the hotel and she's coming right now. She's going to buy it. He had only one bottle. He makes that's what his finance is. I mean, he says that if he sells 100 drinks, he doesn't make as much as he does on one bottle of thing. Okay? A guy came in 10 minutes late and says he wants to buy it. So he says, I'm sorry, I can't sell it to you because the lady's going to come up. But the lady never showed up. She never came to me. And I said, what a chutzpah. What a chutzpah. So he lost. Now the bottle is still sitting by him. But he trusted the lady. The lady said, so when it comes to money, I'm just saying, it's an unbelievable story. That here the lady said, I'm going to the hotel and I'm going to come back and I want the bottle. And he says, okay, so he's a businessman. And the guy came in. And so I said, next time you have to take a deposit from the person if they tell you that you can't trust them. There's a lady, she's going to the hotel,
coming back up.
She's coming back and she's going to buy it and, save it for me. And then he lost it.
Or you could even charge the full price and put it aside for her. It doesn't have to deposit also.
Okay, whatever the case is. Tell me to see that. Because then he should have said that if you don't give me a deposit, if somebody comes, I'm going to have to sell it to somebody. You have to learn your lesson. But anyway, as I was just telling you, when it comes to money, it's not possible.
Okay, but the words of the Gemara seem to say that this side is because it's moment, and that's the reason why he's not going to take it so seriously. It means that he takes it seriously when he gets a kapara. And korban he can take seriously, and we don't have to enforce it because we'll do it on his own. But since the way the words of the Gemara seem to say, therefore it's money, and just to point out, according to what Pshat was saying now, that this side says that it's money, it's not kapara. So then go back to before, the Yisoma Magnet V'Chayiv then. The Gemara in the beginning only said the Yisoma Potter because it's a kapara. They don't need a kapara. But if it's damages, it's kind of a damages. He has to pay for the dead man's value because that's the least he could do as far as paying for the damages. Then he would have to pay also. The Gemara doesn't sound like that so much. It's a little difficult that the Gemara before didn't bring this in as a sound. And here the Gemara does say it. So leave it as a question. And second white line, Dinami, another sound to say that you are going to force him. Even though when a person himself needs a kapara, so he takes it seriously because he feels guilty and he wants to get an atonement, so they don't have to force him. He doesn't need any encouragement to pay. He's going to pay him on his own, like a kata sasha. But this is something that he didn't do, so he feels so guilty. It's true. He should have taken care of his ox. His ox scored already 4 times, killed 4 people. But after all, he didn't do it himself. So he doesn't feel as guilty, and therefore he doesn't feel so pressed to get a kapara. Maybe you have to enforce it because he can't trust he'll do it on his own. And that was the second question of Rav Yaakov to Rav Nachman, Amalei. And Rav Nachman said to Rav Yaakov Shavkan, you can leave me. Istaga become my Rashi says Istaga means I've been closed in by the first one. Means what's that? Stumped by the first one. So Rav Nachman was checking Rav Yaakov, he's a smart man. And the test was give me a question. He gave a good question. He gave it a second good question. Rav Nachman says he doesn't know. And even the first question was enough. You passed the test after the first question.
So he didn't know both.
He didn't know both of them.
Oh wow, you got it.
Well, we don't know the answer now.
Oh, cool.
What was the first question? If 2 shutfim,
Right.
2 shutfim, you can't pay half. You can't pay 2. So what do you do? The mother leaves it as a question. And second question was, you enforce it. If someone's chayiv kofar, do you best enforce it or not? 2 tzaddim. Does it need enforcement or not? Maybe it's totally in kufra kapara, kufra mamona, end of the sugya. And it is interesting that this is the sugya of kufra mamona, kufra kapara. It did come on before that says on the side that Zion. Over there, more spoke about just to recall the case that someone threw a baby off the roof and it's going to die in a second, and the shore came and killed it before it landed. So is the shore chayiv kofar? Just they can't take these things emotionally. Just so what the Gemara says the nizik may mazik. The Gemara says it depends on the chok of nizik may mazik, and the way Rashi learns over there that if you hold the main nizik, there's no code. That's worthless because how much is this baby worth now on the way down? He's going to be killed in a second, so nothing worth on the market. So they know. But if it's the main mazik, so then maybe the shore would have to pay because the shore is the one who killed him on myself.
Even though halachically we look at a living being as complete until
but he's talking about how much he'd be on the market,
specifically on the way once he's on.
How much if it's on the market? Market value has its own column. How much is it worth on the market?
You could say the damage would be worse then, so it would be worth less if it was the ox close to the ground or whatever the situation would be.
The case that he died, the case would have died. They would have died either way. There's no question he would have died. If he would have reached the earth, he would have died, and the shore killed him first. So if you say if it would only be that, if it would only be what? If it wouldn't be a question of kofar, there'd be no question. But kofar is maybe the main mazik, and therefore maybe the mazik would have to pay. The owner of the shore would have to pay because he killed a living being. That he said he's considered living. He's not considered dead. It's also interesting.
Well,
this
main is a monetary value he doesn't have.
but
What
the
is a human
human
being?
being. But even though the human being is like a gav ketila cut out, he's definitely going to die. You don't look at it. It's still
What's
Kirby says, that's what she said.
is the baby is falling down.
Yeah.
And then
He would have died. And the shore
the
came.
show goes and hits
Right.
it before he sees him die anyway.
You can even say that whatever the
It
baby
works
fell
out
by
by
itself,
accident.
right?
Right.
So the question is if the baby's worth anything,
Right.
that doesn't matter that
We're not
the baby's not
talking
worth
about
anything. And that's the story of Kufa Kapora and Kufa Mamona and Dvei Nizik, Dvei Mazik. Fascinating. So we pass in Kufa Kapora, I think. We pass in Dvei Nizik. And the question is, when does it ever happen? How did the shah kill 4 times? Each time he's supposed to kill the shah. He's a fugitive. He's on the run.
You guys are getting out of jail.
Tanabanan. Shalom. Now we're talking about a show of the Mashi. What?
Kills for nothing.
That's right. I think the Muslim will talk about that. Maybe I think so. I think the Gemara going to get to it when it talks about this case. What is the case of Ben Kofar? I think. Tanabanan. Shalom. B'cheskas Tam and Nimsamu. So we're going into the sugya that we had yesterday. That Rishus Mishana. That if it was a muad in one state and it changed domain, it changed what would you call it? Ownership. Change title. So does it lose the status of a muad back to a time. So we have a focus if there was a patropus that under his ownership, it became a muad, and then it goes back to the owner to the title of the Yisomim because they became bar mitzvah. So does it lose the status of a muad?
Why should it?
Because why should it?
It's not really changing title, it just cuts the custodianship.
Yeah, but we said also, I think the post would say that also by selling it. So if the owner would have sold it to somebody else, if the owner was just Mishana, it became a different ownership, and now it changes the status, it's not a muad anymore. If it has to do with the owner being negligent, he was so then maybe you could understand that's where it changed ownership now. So then he was negligent. I'm not negligent. Or it has to do with the shore that he became an akron. He's a wild ox. You see, he did it so many times. So then even if it changed, what are you going to say? Because the owner now is more responsible, so he doesn't have that. I don't know. I can't say that I know what the svar would be to say Rishus Mishanim.
I think a caretaker appointed by Bez would be more responsible than the someone getting back a uncontrollable shot.
Okay, of course they're going to also have to get the 13-year-old boy is going to have to get somebody to watch it. Okay, so now because of that sugya, so now there's a takeoff on the next question. There's going to be a question with a shore and a mashal that somebody lent the shore to a borrower, the borrower and the lender. This is the first case the Gemara talks about is not what I introduced about Rishus Mashana. It's not a case about a shol and a mashal. We'll get soon to the next case. So I just to highlight this first ratio, then we'll have a sefer also. Shalom, becheska stam, v'nimtza muad. Ba'al mishalem chasi nezek, v'shol mishalem chasi nezek. That's the first case. So somebody borrowed a shore. He thought that it was an innocent tame shore, and then it really was a muad, but the owner didn't tell him. So somebody lent the shore. He thought that it's a tame shore, tam, and it really was a muad, and the gorge. So who pays? Usually, when a shore takes a shore and it damages, he's responsible not only that it shouldn't get damaged, he's also responsible that it shouldn't damage, and he's responsible. But over here, he didn't know. He didn't know that it's a muad. So here it says, the husband pays half. Means that shore is only going to pay as if it was a tam because he did take responsibility for a tam. He knew that it's a shore. Every shore is a high shore tam, and if it damages, then he has to pay chatzi nezek. So he did take upon the responsibility to pay chatzi nezek, but the rest of it he didn't take upon himself. So the owner has to pay that half. So the shore is going to pay half, and the Bava Kamma have to pay the second half. The nizik is going to get the full payment because there's a shamud. That's the first case. There's another case which has no connection, maybe, but the more is going to make a connection. We will see a connection. Let's try this color for the sefer. Who had did they show? The zero lebalim. The shoel when he borrowed it, it gored 3 times under his custodianship. While he was a shoel, it gored 3 times, and then he gives it back to the owner. And then it gored again.
Oh, he doesn't tell the owner.
He told the owner. I think the case he told the owner. And the gored. So as far as the owner goes, is it already a muad? Or do we say that it's a tam? This sounds a little bit like the question of Rishus Mishana. The fact that it goes back to it changed ownership now, custodianship. Who's guarding it? So before they became a muad in the domain of the domain's a more long word, under the title of the shoel. Now it changed to the Rishus, back to the owner. So here it says, here it says only chatzi nezek. Sounds a little bit like it goes back to be a tam. And the shoel doesn't have to pay anything. I would think it's partial why the shoel doesn't pay anything because he's not the shoel anymore. He gave it back. He's not watching it. The owner has to watch it. He can't come to him with any complaints. That's the price.
So then it's surprised that he only pays chatzi.
Maybe because Rishus Mishana. If you hold that ownership changes, so the status of the shore changes back to a tam again. So that might be the pshat in the sefer. I think the Gemara is going to talk about it. So that's the end of the price.
Also, really change the title really changes.
That's what we can talk about. That's what it sounds like. It sounds here in the sefer that when the shore gives it back to the mashal, so it changed ownership, and therefore it becomes a tam again. If not, then the shore should tell the mashal, you should know it's 4 or 3 times by me, and I pay through all of those damages. I'm responsible to pay for that, but I'm giving it back to you. It's hereby yours, but it's a mood. You should know it's a mood from now on. And the halacha says no, that it's a tam.
And I'm assuming he never gored before.
Before when?
Before
Yeah. But it was all at one time, whatever. It wasn't it wasn't a muad until the shoal had it. You can talk about, okay, we'll talk about also changing from the owner. The Gemara just
To
talks
the
about,
shoal,
right,
to the back
right.
to the-
So here it talks about, the Sefer talks about from the shoal back to the mashal, and it says it pays chatzin nezek. It sounds a little bit like status change, Rishus Mishana. And the Gemara is going to talk about this soon. But Amamar. So we're going back to the Reisha. So Reisha in the Sefer, the Reisha is in green, the Sefer is in blue. Amamar, Shalu b'cheskas tam v'nim samud ba'alam v'sham chatzin nezek v'shol chatzin nezek. If the shoal didn't know, he didn't know that it's muad. So small over here. Okay. Amai. Lay malay. Torah she'ili ayalo shili. The one is very graphic. The one says the shoal should say, I didn't borrow a line. I borrowed an ox. I didn't borrow a line. What does the Gemara mean to say? I should be put on the gamri because it's true. I didn't know it's in wood, so I should have thought it's a tam. It's true. Every shore is a tam. But look at the street. All the shore tam, everything's fine. Not everybody's there. I didn't expect it to go over. It's true. I have responsibility that if it gores, but I didn't expect it to go because it looked very tame. So it really is a muad. He's not tying over here that it's I thought it's a tam and really it's a muad. He meant to say that it wasn't even considered a chash that it should be mazik. So I shouldn't pay anything. The adach is that he pays half. The shul pays half and the balam pays half. Because the shul doesn't have to pay the whole because he didn't know it's a muad, that's for sure. But he's not tying, I shouldn't even have to pay half because I didn't expect it to go over.
That's my feeling.
A lion eats,
getting into.
devours. Huh?
You know what you're getting yourself
Yeah,
into.
yeah, but here I expect that it should be calm. So in economic, the Gemara reads to the question: if it would have been a regular case, he didn't know anything, he thought that it never gored before, so then he would not have to pay anything. And of course, the Bible would have to pay the whole thing, always. But the case is that he knew that it was a gorer, and that's enough that he should. He can't say I didn't expect anything. But the next question is, tam shili more low shili. So the Gemara takes each question one step at a time. It could be sometimes that the question doesn't make sense till we get to the end of the whole discussion. But he says, I only borrowed a tam. Why should I pay half? So he says, I'm asking you to pay half. What's the problem? So you're right. You don't have to pay this shalim. I fooled you. I didn't tell you that it's a mood. You thought it's a tam. And you knew that it's a nakan. If you would have thought that it's mamish lamola, you wouldn't have had to pay anything. But you knew that it's a nakan. But you would have paid. But no, the Moshe is not happy. The name tam have a megufa. If it would have been a tam, I only would have paid megufa. What does megufa mean? From the meat of the shore. So I wouldn't have lost anything. The shore says to the mashal, I thought it was a tam. Why was a tam pay? Only from the meat of the animal itself. The animal itself, not from me, not from the pocket. So I wouldn't have had to pay anything. But of course, it doesn't make sense. And the Gemara right away jumps up. That it's true. I have to pay from the shore, but then you have to pay me. You're the shore. Let's hide to the mashal because you took on responsibility and damages that it did. You have to pay, so you would have lost. So give me the chatzin nezek. The more a lot of times has these discussions that each question alone, I think doesn't have to make sense. It's just a lead up. But he says, if it would have been a tam, I wouldn't have lost anything. In tam hava modina miftarina. If it would have been a time, what's it then? So Rashi goes into the Gemara goes into Palganiska Knasa, Palganiska Mamona. We had a machlokus a long time ago. If the Chatzin that the Torah says is only a penalty, really it should be potter, and it's only a knas, and there's a din mode of knas is potter. If you come on your own and you mode, so then you don't have to pay. So if you hold like that, so then the shul could say, according to what is a tam, I took the risk that it might be mazik and I'll have to pay, but I always have the way of getting out by being modeh. So I could have been modeh to Bezdin, and then I wouldn't have had to pay anything. But now that it's a muad, it doesn't help me anymore, the whole though. So I should be put to the gamri. And feel mandam palganiska mamona, name olay in tamu, have a marikna lay lagma. Even if you hold palganiska mamona, means it doesn't help to be modeh. So the mashal tells to the showel, you would have had to pay anyway, you have chatzin nezek. He says, I would have been able to escape it. The word marikna is to run away, to be boreach. Nowadays in Hebrew they call arik, somebody that doesn't a draft dodger. They call him arik. He runs away. It's really Aramaic. So it means I could have escaped it, and I would have hit it, and the Agam would have taken it away. Bezdin comes to collect the migufa, but the migufa is only means you. It's true. It's your shore has to pay migufa, and I would have had to pay you. But if I would have had the shore time that I thought it was, I would have been able to hide it, and then Bezdin would have been able to get it. And then you wouldn't have had to pay, and therefore I wouldn't have had to pay you. Which sounds very, 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 very strange because he has to pay. He's chayav to pay. What is he? He's gonna steal. What kind of time is that? I could have stolen. I could have been a ganav. So this is a little strange, very strange. Taisa has the kasha, and Taisa says that it means we would have had more negotiating powers. Which Taisa is this? I think the second one.
Yeah.
Okay, Matani is doing. Okay, now you also shloka din. So Taisa says at the end, when they release, Shalom Salom, and B'toch V'Amed, V'Shayisi Osa, Ayinizik Mispasha, Me P'tav Amuad, V'Yimochali, V'Dim Sesh, if Sadetani, Al Kol Yisron. Then I could have negotiated. If it would have been a time, and it's true that it's not the right thing to do. It's not the right thing to do. But since people do that, so the nizik feels more. They'll make the best out of it, and maybe he'll negotiate, and he'll take less than Chatzi Nezek, maybe. But okay, it is a strange thing. The Gemara has the kasha again. The first kasha was if you hold Moda B'Chanas Esparta, he has a way out by being Moda, and now I don't have that way out. And if you hold that Moda B'Chanas Kamamon, then there's no way to be Moda B'Chanas, but I could have still had negotiating powers, and now you took it away from me because it's really a mood. Allah my skin on so the more accepts the kasha. It's a good kasha. Allah my skin could go in the actin beidina betafse. That best didn't caught it. The police came and they caught the shor mazik. And now we can't say I would have escaped it. There's Nazir already. So you're right. In a regular case, the shore would have had a time that I could have gotten rid of the shore in a way that Bezdin wouldn't be able to use it. Then he has some time. But the case that the shore has to pay Chazi Nezik is because Bezdin, the police caught the shore. And therefore, it's definitely going to be paid. And even if it would have been a time, we would have had to pay. Does this have anything to do with Moda B'Kanas Pata? The first question is being answered. Moda B'Kanas Pata. He still hasn't time. Then there's no. Then there's a kasha. Moda B'Kanas Pata is a time. Moda B'Kanas Pata. I would have been Pata. No, I would have been Moda. In Tama, but Medina Baftarina. The Shol says to the Mashal, you made. I don't want to pay anything because if it was a time to go the way I thought, it would have been Moda, would have been Pata. Now that it's a Moda, that can be Moda. Right?
That doesn't answer.
So there's no answer then. I didn't realize what we learned. The Gemara says, if you hold Paganism Amon, there's a time I could have hidden it. I could have escaped it. I could have.
It's not halachic, we call it just.
It's just
He could
it does. That the Gemara says, so the police caught it, so you couldn't have done that. But Moda B'Knas is even if the police caught it, I could have been Moda B'Knas. But so that the Gemara is not going to answer. I think I don't know.
Does the borrower have a way out of saying it's not my ox? I can't possibly sell it to give you the money.
No, you have to pay for your own money. The shoel, the borrower has to pay from his own pocket the money to the
damaged.
The courts.
So really, but since it's a short time, so the collection is only from the shore itself, and that's not his. That's the marshals. That's the lenders. But the lender has to give the shore migufo to pay for the damage or money instead. But then the borrower has to reimburse the lender because it was his responsibility to watch it.
But the actual transaction, let's say selling the ox and all these things, that's when the court's dealing with the owner and then connecting.
Oh yeah, the horror. Yeah.
When the one says a halacha b'mayaskinon, is that going to answer the other questions?
So it seems not. I mean, I don't get it. It doesn't seem like it's answering the kasha, and there's no answer. And that's a kasha.
I would have said whether it's not,
And I shouldn't pay anything.
but they grabbed it.
So what if they grabbed it? I still want to ask about it. That means that there's not more than like Adam came. It means another way of saying Adam came. That's what the one means. It doesn't mean they grabbed the shore. It means that they were Adam and they can't put you more than no.
Purchase doesn't.
But that's the answer. In the case where you can't be more than.
You thought it was a time anyway.
I would have thought.
The Bezdin already grabbed.
Bezdin can't grab that.
If I would have known that it's a task,
I would have been.
I would have been lawyer. Well, here we're talking only in the case that
they have
it out to Bezdin and they already grabbed the show.
So it's not really a point of business. It's more like saying that they're Adam. That's the point. That's the point to say.
We need to grab.
Yeah, but
that's why.
Possession.
But either way, there's a way that you can have the time of being more than. Okay, in the case.
Only in a case that you weren't.
Yeah, but in a regular case of being more than, he could have been more than, he would have been patataka. In the case where you can be more than, in the case where you can't escape it, what's a better word than escaping it? Evading the Bezdin, evading the court. Okay, now the more said turns it around. What do you say? The only case that the shore is going to be chayiv is only a Bezdin caught it. The police caught the shore. What did the Brisa say? That in this case, that the shore didn't know what he's getting into. He thought it's a time release a muad, so each one pays chazinezek. The shore pays chazinezek, and the mashal, the bailam pay chazinezek. If the case that the shore pays chazinezek is only when the police caught it, so then the bailam shouldn't have to pay the chazinezek. Not a bailam, not a bailam. Now the table turns around. Not a bailam comes to on the offense. He says to the shore, "You messed it up. You let the police catch it. If I would have been me, I would have made sure the police don't catch it." That it also sounds very strange. This is the way they have negotiated that I could have evaded the police. The police means the Bezdin police, not the Israeli police. It means that the Bezdin sends a shoter and they got it. So what do you mean you could have evaded them? But that's what the Gemara says. Why should the owner have to pay the other half? Namely, the owner should say to the show, "You messed it up. You got the shore in the hands of somebody that I can't deal with them. I can't deal with the Bezdin." So I would have made sure that the Bezdin wouldn't have got a hold of the shore. And then I would have made negotiations, really criminal kind of a negotiate, blackmail that's not really right. You're supposed to pay. And he said I could have had blackmailed him that I'm a chaverman, that I know how to wheel and deal, and I would have said to the nizik, I could get rid of the shore and or say in case it give me a quarter, instead of. So the whole Gemara sounds a bit strange, but the Gemara said this is still considered kol chataina, that the bailam should be able to say to the masha, to the shower, you messed it up by letting it get caught. The answer is so the Gemara talks about the fact that it goes step by step. Each step alone doesn't make sense. The Gemara says, if I would have returned it to you, wouldn't the police have taken it from you? So he says, no, I would have hidden it. I'm better than you. I'm a better police evader than you. I would have taken it away. You didn't take it away. Why are you such a klutz? You let the person take it. So Mishum Damalei, so the shore says back to the Mashal, but even if you would have hidden the shore, they would have gone to your bank account, they would have gone to foreclose on something because you owe money. What does it help? They would have hidden the shore. We're talking about a muad, it's really a muad. So you wouldn't have been able to escape the Bezdin. The Gemara says, you're right, if he has other estate, he has money, Bezdin can take other money to pay for the shore, for the damage. But if it's the only thing it has left, so the Bezdin would have taken the shore, and he could say, I could have got rid of the shore. So let the Balaam say to the shore that you messed it up by letting it get caught by the police. That then the shore tells the Balaam, you cannot find somebody that get let caught. And because of me, I got paid up to the rightful nizik, because there's a thing called Shibuda Rav Nasan, means if Reuben knows Shimon and Shimon knows Levi, so this really Reuben knows Levi. And all the Chiyuvim Levi could collect from Reuben. And here it says another thing also, that you can't say that I should have not you if you owe him, but that's your business and I messed you up. If I owe you and you owe him, I owe him. Therefore, even if you have time, you could have done negotiational kind of criminal tricks. That's not my business. I owe him. The same way I owe you, I owe him. And I don't do these kind of tricks. I owe him, I paid him. So the mazik has no taina that the shore was caught, and he has to pay chatzin. And the word was done Rav Nosson, the Tanya Rav Nosson, Omer Minayin Lenosha V'Chaver Mona V'Chaver V'Chaver Minayin Shemotziyim B'Zeh V'Nosson V'Zeh. If Reuven knows Shimon and Shimon knows Levi, how do you know that we take it out from Reuven, give it to Levi? Samalova V'Nosson L'Asher Hashem Lo. He should give to the one that he owes. Mm-hmm. So in the extra word of the pasuk, it has a mashmos that he gives to the one that he is chayiv to. He gives to the final creditor. That's the end of the explanation of the beginning of the brayso. We said it's a ratio and a sefer. This was all to explain the ratio. Again, the ratio was that the shul borrowed it without knowing that it's a muad. The Balaam didn't tell him that it's a muad, and it says that the shul has to pay half according to what he thought that it's a tam, and the Balaam has to pay the rest. The Gemara says right away to us, clear the whole road, that if he thought that it would never board, the shul doesn't have to pay, because he said I thought that it's a line. I thought I got a 10 marks that doesn't do anything, so it doesn't have to pay anything. The only case we're talking about is only when he knew that at least board, not 3 times, but at least once that he knows that's board. You got to watch out. Then time it was but I thought that it was a tam,
Mhm.
and I only should pay half. Okay, pay half. Migufo, and I would have evaded or been made moda. You're right. In that case, also the show will be put. The only case is five half is only if the bezdin had caught it, and therefore you have no taina of moda b'knas. You have no taina of evading it.
Or witnesses are the
Well,
same
yeah,
as
that'll be enough for the first one about moda b'knas. You can't do moda b'knas anymore. If you hold that paganis kamamona, so knas, so moda wouldn't help him. He has a trickster. He could have evaded them and hid the shore. And that is only taken care of if Bezdin caught the shore. Otherwise, it'd be potter. The Gemara says in this case that the Bezdin caught the shore, so why does the Milam have to pay? Why doesn't he say he messed it up? And we skip all the shock of the tie, goes till the end, because he says if I owe you and you owe him, so I owe him, and there's no tinus, the Milam also has to pay the second half. And now we go to the Sefer, just to recall the Sefer again, this goes into what we're saying that Mike went to Shuvishus Mishana. This was the blue. This was the case in Amanala where it spoke about that they became a muad in the Rishus of the Shoel. And then it gave it back to the Bailam. The Bailam paid half, and the Shoel is part. Not like I was going to analyze this case. So this is the where are we? Here we are, making blue again, just to recognize it again. Who are the Beis Shoel? This same as we had in the Brisa before. Got it wrong. Here it is. This was the Sefer. And it says that when the Shoel gives it back to the Mashal only has to pay, the Bailam only has to pay Chatzi Nezek. And the question is why? It's a muad. So we mentioned the possibility. The Gemara is going to analyze it now. Sefer b'shus b'shana. This sefer shows that changing of the custodianship, the ownership, changes the status, and therefore, even though it became a muad in the rishus of the shoel, when he gives it back to the owner, it's not a muad anymore. That's why it pays chatzin nezek. But now the Gemara goes back. But Reisha b'shus ain't a b'shana. You go back to the Reisha. What was the Reisha's case? Right.
He gave him first, and he
didn't know it was a muad, and he was a muad, and he gave it to the shoel. And the only question is if the shoel has to pay it, and the shoel
didn't change.
But what? The shus didn't change. Why? What does mean the shus didn't change? The Gemara is taking it slow. The Gemara is saying when the marshal gave it to the shoel, at that point he gave it over. He said, "Here, you can borrow it." Does it change the status? It was a muad. He didn't tell him, but it was really a muad. But the question is, he didn't tell him, but really it should change. If you hold the shus mishana, so when the owner lends it to the shoel, if you hold the shus mishana, it should change status. The same way when the shoel gives it back to the marshal, it changes status. So back up. When the owner gave it to the shoel, also it should have changed status. So even though it was really a muad, that's fine. It's a muad as long as it's by me. When I lent it to you, it should become a tam. And it doesn't say that. It says that the payment is going to be Nizik Sholim. He pays half, but the Maisa has to pay Nizik Sholim. Why should I have to pay Nizik Sholim? Because it was just Mishana, so then the owner shouldn't have to pay Nizik Sholim. It's true, it became a tam. It really became a tam. The Sholim says to the Mashal, why didn't you tell me? What should I tell you? That's a muad. When I gave it to you, it became Ois muad. When I gave it to you, it changed status. If you're just Mishana. So the Brisa seems to contradict itself from one line to the next. In the first case, when it says that the marshal gave a muad to the shoel, it stays a muad. The question only who pays. He didn't know about it, fine. But you have to pay, it's still a muad. But the second half, when it says that the shoel gave back to the marshal, and it was a muad that came by the just the shoel, then it gave back to the owner. It says over there that it changes. It goes back to be a town. So contradiction in the Brisa from one line to the next.
We discussed that. What's the official changing of issues? Is borrowing considered changing?
So that's the so the Gemara seems to say that it doesn't. The Gemara doesn't make a difference in between a borrower or a seller, a purchase, right? What do you have before about Yisomim, about Apotropos? All that. So here the Gemara seems to. I think the Rambam might halachically differentiate, but the Gemara simply the post can have a problem. The Farshim that the Rambam seems to differentiate something the Gemara doesn't do. The Gemara seems to say that the shoel and mashal is the same thing as anybody else.
See, is very different. See, when someone rents a car rental companies go through a lot of damaged cars. When people rent things, they usually don't take as good care.
So therefore, what?
You have an ox that has a new owner. He doesn't know the ins and outs how to deal with it, so it's much more of a problem than the original owner.
But they're supposed to. I mean, that's the car rental.
Right, you rent
means,
the car out. You know that you don't want to buy a used
because the people don't take care of the way they're supposed to. But the Gemara seems to compare all these things. Okay, the Gemara seems to. Also, we don't know if Shishmashan if it has to do with the fact that it's going to watch it better or less, or the fact that under other custodianship, so then the shore changes. But the Gemara seems to compare all these cases. And the Gemara says this Bryce itself seems to be self-contradictory if you say that Rosh Mashana from the Shoal to the Marshal to the Shoal. How come one case you say that it changes, one case you say it doesn't change? That's the Gemara's kasha. Break it up. It's a break it. Means you think it was one Bryce, it was really two different Bryces, two different opinions. The Agataka arguing, even though it doesn't look like that, it looks like a flowing Bryce. It's two different opinions. And whoever said the beginning didn't say the end. It's two different man Yamrin. And Machlokis, does Shus Mashana or not? Rabba Amar, but the ratio was Shus Ene Mashana, Sefer Dami Shus Ene Mashana. The whole Bryce holds Shus Ene Mashana. And the question is going to be what's found in the Sefer. It means again, the Shoel made it into a muad, and he gave it back to the Mashil, gave back to the lender, and it says in the Brisa that it's Chatzi Nezek. We thought the reason is because Rishus Mishana, and now the wasn't trying to figure out a shot that Rishus Ein Mishana. The fact he gave it back doesn't make it into a tam; it's still a muad, and still the payment's only Chatzi Nezek. Why should that be? The Sefer Ein Taima, you say if you know the reason why he only pays Chatzi Nezek, Yishum Dam Alei, because the owner could tell to the Shoel. You don't have the power to make my shor into a muad. What is that saying? It's saying that the shoel is different than a regular case of change of domain. That the shoel, the owner tells the shoel, you can't make my shor into a muad.
Damaging it.
You're damaging it by making it into a muad. It's mine, and you're making it into a muad. It's not under your jurisdiction to make my shor into a muad. What does that mean? Does it mean that even while it's by you, also it's not a muad?
It's a muad. It's a muad.
No, it doesn't get a halachic status of a muad.
Muad not just if it kicks. Muad also right if you're the Allah you won or you're made in front of him that it was mazik. So the Bible wasn't here, obviously, because the Bible thinks it's still a town. So how did it become a muad?
Not necessarily. This case,
How did it become a muad?
because it tore three times by the shower.
Yeah, but who are you made in
The
front of?
shower.
The shower. So you're not the Bible of the shower.
He has jurisdiction over it while he's
You have
while
jurisdiction, but you're not enough to make the shore into muad.
While
It's
is-
not
while-
yours. You're not the Bible.
But
of
it
the shore.
becomes a town again.
It never became a muad, maybe.
I'm saying if it was a muad before and then now he's borrowing it.
that would be a fancy
no,
case.
that
But the
was-
case
that
of
was-
the case of the advice is now that it became a muad by the shower, they'll make him back home. But you wanna know
if
if
it's changing anyway, then
But it's not changing. The Gemara is saying it's not Rishus Ein Mishana means it doesn't. The fact that it changed domain doesn't change any halachic
I thought
status.
it was coming.
So what is the Gemara? It was and the Gemara thinks the words are that it became a muad. But now the Gemara is saying it became physically a muad. It grew three times. It doesn't become halachically a muad because under the jurisdiction of the shoal, he doesn't have a right to make it into a muad, and therefore even wise by the shoal also is not.
Because he's not the Bible.
So therefore, so it's not even a muad when it's by the shoal, which is a big
It's
chiddush.
hard also in the words because it says it sounds like he says, "You can't make my shore a muad."
And what? Yes, what you're saying.
Yeah,
You
you
can-
can doing a little bit different. That you're not the Bible.
You can okay, that's good.
Okay,
You
maybe.
can make. You don't have the power to make my shor into a muad. But according to this reading, it wasn't a
No,
muad
going
even
back.
in the rishus of the shoel.
Wasn't
Even if
really a muad. You thought it was.
right, and we thought that only when it goes back then it becomes. But it would be. It doesn't sound like it too much. It comes out that even if they would have gone a fourth time in the rishus of the shoel, it also would only be a patzinezek. Doesn't sound like that too much. That's how we're trying to say. And the other possibility, this I don't understand either. Papa Amar, but the Sefer Rishus Mashana, Reisha Nami Rishus Mashana, we can't try to reconcile the contradiction at the Brisa. So the Reisha Sefer we said Rishus Mashana. So the question wasn't the Reisha, what happened over there? That the Bible gave a Shor Muad to the Shor without telling him. And over there it sounded like he's still paying Nezek Shalom. The question only is who pays Nezek Shalom? But it pays Nezek Shalom. So that sounded like Rishus Ein Mashana. Another Gemara wants to say Reisha also is Rishus Mashana. So the question is if Rishus Mashana, when the owner gave it to the shoel, it should become a tam automatically, and it shouldn't have to pay nezek shalem. But Reisha, I knew timer. How come with the Reisha it pays nezek shalem? Wherever it goes, the owner's name is still upon it, and therefore what? What happened? Just to get the story again, and everyone explained to me. The owner had a short as a muad, became a muad. He gave it to the shoel.
It's still a muad.
And it's still a muad. Why should it be muad? It's just mishana.
There it is.
There it is. It didn't switch.
Some can say being by a shore is not a different.
It's the same goal.
It's not a different.
What? Because
It's
saying
the
all
same
about that,
aggressive
there's
goal,
some can
not
say
a much.
machine.
Mhm.
Which is what makes sense. It's the same aggressive bull.
No, then you're going. Then you're not going to agree about
You don't know
Rishus.
Rishus Mashana
Yeah,
at all.
you don't have
Yeah.
Rishus Mashana.
Have a
But
problem.
you have to go into that mindset.
It's not considered Shini Rishus because Shem Bala, it's not considered Shini Rishus.
So is that saying that Shoal is different than any other, like Apotropos and Yasom and a Mocher is called Rishus Mishana? But the case of a Shoal Mashal is not called Rishus Mishana, not in the Reish, not in the Sefer. Both of them. It's very similar also. So the Sefer is going to be, don't say Rishus Mishana. The whole thing of the Bryce here is not the Rishus Mishana. It's just saying that it's the whole time in the domain of the owner.
We try to say it has to do with Rishus Mashana, but it doesn't.
It still says Avis on it. No matter
It
what the
says,
code goes,
the
it's still
Sefer
marked
Rishus
as this
Mashana.
guy's code,
Yeah.
but
And if it's and therefore what? And therefore
The Sefer.
it's not called the Rishina Rishus at all. So what we started, they're saying this. These Gemara saying that this is the borrower, lender borrower is not a case of Rishus
But then
Mishana.
why does it say me the Sefer Rishus Mashana? What's me the Sefer? What's the
Mhm,
Sefer? Why
right.
returning it?
And you should say, what are you returning it? You didn't make it into a move because it's always mine the whole time. The Gemara's not saying that. I don't get it. Just to point out that Rabbi Yochanan in the beginning, the first time said he did hold that lender borrower is considered a change of rishus. That was question. The Marakasha was just this is safe rishus mashana, rishus and mashana. Rabbi Yochanan said yes. So there is a Madama that says that a borrower lender relationship is called rishus mashana. And then the Gemara says two words at the end. I don't know what they are. Both of them seem to say that this is not dependent on rishus mashana or not. Either because the owner says to the shower, you can't make my shower into a muad, or the case where it became a muad by the owner's rishus. So he says, even when I lend it to you, it's still mine, and therefore, he says he's going to be chayv nezek shalom because he can't say it changed rishus. It didn't change rishus because the shalom marshal relationship is not a changing of rishus relationship. Ad kan. What did we learn today? We learned about kofar. Kufra Kapora. Pashas is Kufra Kapora. There is a machlokis about Meinizik Dmei Mazik, and we pass in the Meinizik. Then the Gemara spoke about Rishus Mishana, and there's machlokis in the Mishnah called Rishus Mishana or not, as far as going from the domain of the Apotropos back to the Yisomer. That's official machlokis, and we're probably going to pass over there like Rav Yossi that says Rebbe Chaskoso that it doesn't change. I'm not sure. Usually pass like Rav Yossi against Rav Meir and Simchas, and then the Gemara here the issues about. Or one issue before that was just Mishana, the Gemara goes into a shoal that didn't know that it's a muad, and it is a muad. The Gemara goes it's a muad for some reason. It didn't happen with just Mishana over there when it changed from the mashal to the shoal. It still remained a muad. And what?
And what was that Allah for there?
That Chazi
He pays as much as it would have been.
if it would have been a tam, and the Gemara says only under certain conditions, only if you knew that's at least a nagchan, and only if Bezdin caught it. If the police caught it, or else he has time that he could have negotiated and gotten the price down. In those cases, he has to pay chatzi nezek. The owner also has to pay chatzi nezek. Again, have tinus that you messed it up by letting the police catch it because he says just like I owe you, I owe him because I have nothing. And the last Gemara goes into Rishus Mashana about a shol and a mashal. But Yochanan says that it also mashal shol is also called the case of Rishus Mashana. And there's a machlokes of Rishus Mashana over here, right here. If it became a word by the Bible, then he gave it to a shol, maybe it changes, and the shol made it changes. And the machlokes Rishus Mashana or not. And the other Gemara says not. It's not totally in this case. I'm not sure what the Gemara says. One is that wherever it is belongs to the mashal. It doesn't. That's not called the Rishus Mashana. Mashal shol relationship is not called that it changed. It's always the mashals. The other notion the Gemara uses is that the owner tells to the show, you can't make my show into a muad. Still a little shaky. Okay.
Could it be that it's a situation of meaning I know like on Shabbos, lending things to a goy or something. It can be identified as yours.
That's only, I think, you're right. I think over here, it's because of the publicity that people see that this is Yankel's Beis HaMerchatz and it's operating on Shabbos, even though officially there was a rental. But it says on it, Yankel's Yankel open 7. What did I say? 724. 724 Yankel. That's why it doesn't look good. So I don't think over here it has to do as much as the official. It could be officially it belongs to the guy, but it's a Chil Hashem that it says that it's operating on Shabbos when it's.
Connection I was going to say is that if it's identified as so and so's ox. If it's not, then 50-50.
But over there by the Shabbos it has to do with just how it sounds. It doesn't sound good. It's Chil Hashem. But here it has to do with real ownership. Did it change domain? Did it change ownership?
Yeah, but you're saying the change its ownership, could the changing of the ownership be dependent upon whether the name of the owner goes with it?
So he said that. So that's the criteria. Here we say the criteria is, I don't know, it has to do with, you're saying that has to do with the publicity. The fact that his name is still on it, that's the reason why it's not called the Shini Rishus. But here I don't understand it. Over there by Shabbos, it has to do with how people identify. Perhaps here, if there's something inherent, intrinsic about Rishus Mishanis, why does it make a difference that his name is called upon it? It's called, it's branded, Yankel's
That
farm.
carries the motor with it.
As
Oh, it's
what does that have to do with Rishus Mishanis?
He goes all the time. The borrower should have known. Everyone knows.
But it's not a question. Is it a question about knowing? It seems to be something that the change of domain changes the status. And maybe we have to figure out why should it be just Mishani? I'm
We
talking.
don't really understand these.
I don't.
I have a problem with it because same.
Yeah.
Thing damage.
Why should Rishus Mishana? We have to get as far as Rishus Mishana to be able to talk about it. We can't talk about it if we don't know the reason.
And it's actually initially changing ownership. We have a wilder bull. If you have a problem,
Because he's not used to his owner. Yeah.
be more difficult.
Okay. Yasha Kochachem.
Do we get to the long lines yet? How far we got to the double?
We got to Shora starting.
Okay.
It's just because it came up slightly also. What's the difference between tshuva and kapara?
I'm not sure what you're referring to, but let's say tshuva would mean that a person repents, any remorse, and
And kapara is when he actually